Most people buy rifles at the worst possible time. They buy when everyone's scared. They buy when shelves are empty. They buy when prices are stupid. But the smart buys happen after the wave. And that's exactly where we are right now. Walk into a shop today and it's a different world. Racks are full, trade-ins are stacked deep, and prices on rifles that can actually do work have dropped hard. If you missed the panic buying window, good, because this is the window disciplined buyers wait for. Today I'm counting down real rifles at real prices. Stuff I'd actually recommend from a range guy standpoint. No fantasy builds, no hype, just capability per dollar. Let's get into it. Number 12, Henry AR-7 Survival Rifle. Let's start at the bottom of the price ladder. And I'll be real with you. This little rifle performs way above what it costs. The Henry AR-7 was originally built as a survival rifle for United States Air Force pilots. Sit with that for a second. The military looked at this thing and said, yeah, this will keep a downed pilot alive behind enemy lines. That's a pretty serious resume for a $250 rifle. Here's why it works. The barrel comes off, the magazine comes out, and both of them store inside the hollow stock. So the entire rifle turns into one sealed unit. It floats in water, it weighs 3.5 pounds, and it slips into a backpack without eating up space you can't afford to lose. The caliber is .22 long rifle. Some folks hear .22 long rifle and immediately tune out. That's a mistake. .22 long rifle is the most available rimfire round in America. You can find it at gas stations. You can stack 1,000 rounds for almost nothing. And for small game hunting, squirrels, rabbits, birds, it does the job cleanly without turning the meat into soup. Is it a defensive rifle? No, nobody honest is saying that. But that's not what this slot is about. The AR-7 is the lightest, most packable emergency option you can drop into a go bag and basically forget about until the day you actually need it. At $250 to $300 brand new, there's almost no barrier to entry. And if you already own a .22 long rifle pistol or another rimfire, now you've got two platforms sharing one ammo pile. That kind of logistics matters more than most people realize when resupply isn't guaranteed. The AR-7 isn't glamorous. It's not winning any range day bragging contests. But if you're building a practical kit and you don't already have a dedicated lightweight survival gun, this is the most logical starting point on the entire list. Number 11, Savage Axis Generation 2. The original Axis had a reputation problem. Gritty trigger, cheap-feeling stock, rough bolt lift. People put up with it because the barrel was legitimately accurate for the money. But everything around that barrel felt like it was thrown together last minute. Generation 2 fixed almost all of that. The biggest upgrade is the ACCU trigger. And that's not marketing fluff. I've felt triggers on custom bolt guns that couldn't beat the clean break on a properly adjusted Axis Generation 2. At this price point, that trigger is almost unfair to the competition. The bolt is smoother. The detachable box magazine makes reloads in the field practical instead of clumsy and annoying. And the barrel is still doing what Savage barrels do. Printing groups that make you look like a better shooter than you are. Right now, new Generation 2 rifles are sitting on dealer shelves for $250 to $280. Used ones in good shape are showing up at $180 to $200 in pawn shops, sometimes with a scope already mounted, so you're basically getting a functional hunting setup for the price of a decent dinner in some cities. For caliber selection, keep it simple. Stick with .308 Winchester or .223 Remington. Those two give you the best long-term ammo availability. When supply chains get weird, common calibers keep you shooting. For a prepper who needs a dedicated hunting rifle that can put real meat on the table without bleeding the budget dry, this is where the conversation starts, not where it ends. Number 10, Ruger 1022. Takedown. If the AR-7 is the emergency backup, the Ruger 1022 Takedown is the workhorse. The 1022 has been in continuous production since 1964. That kind of track record doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the rifle runs. It eats cheap bulk ammo. It runs high-velocity loads. It runs dirty. It runs wet. It just runs. The Takedown model separates the barrel from the receiver with a quarter turn and a pull. Both halves ride in the included backpack-style bag. The full setup weighs 4.7 pounds with a loaded 10-round rotary magazine. Throw on a 25-round extended magazine, and your capacity jumps without adding meaningful weight. What makes the 1022 platform special for long-term preparedness is the aftermarket. Stocks, triggers, barrels, optics, mounts. The aftermarket for this rifle competes with the AR-15 in depth. Whatever you want to do, somebody makes the part, and replacement components are everywhere. Used rifles are landing between 250 and 310 right now. New ones pop up on sale at major retailers regularly in that same range. The math on 22 long rifle is easy. A brick of 500 rounds costs less than a box of 20 centerfire rounds. So you can train more. You can stockpile more. And for taking small game quietly and efficiently, nothing in this caliber class touches the 1022's mix of reliability and accuracy. If you already use an AR-7 for the go bag roll, the 1022 Takedown becomes your base camp rifle. 2 platforms, 1 ammo supply, 0 confusion. Number 9, Mossberg Patriot. Mossberg built its name on pump shotguns. Everybody knows that. And that reputation gap has held the Patriot back for years, even though the rifle itself doesn't have real problems. Fluted bolt, decent trigger right out of the box, threaded barrel on most models. It will absolutely drop deer. It cycles smoothly. That spiral fluted bolt sheds dirt and debris better than a standard round bolt. Those aren't tiny details at this price. Used prices have bottomed out around 320 to 340 in common calibers. Dealers are basically giving them away on trade-ins because they'd rather stock Ruger Americans and Savage rifles that move faster off the floor. And that dealer preference is your opening. Here's the honest take. The Patriot in 350 Remington Magnum or 300 Winchester Magnum gets you a long-range capable bolt gun at a price that still leaves serious money for glass and ammunition. A lot of shooters avoid Magnum calibers because the ammo costs more. That makes sense for a casual range day, but it breaks down in the field. A bolt gun that can reach past 300 yards changes what one rifle can do. Dense timber, open fields, mountain country. The Patriot handles all of it without complaining. Number 8, Ruger AR-556. For a lot of people, this was the first AR platform rifle they ever handled. And there's a reason. The Ruger AR-556 isn't flashy. No free-float handguard. That fixed front sight base looks old school next to newer budget builds. And yeah, Palmetto State Armory will sell you something with more modern features for similar money. But here's what the comparison shoppers keep missing. That hammer-forged barrel will outlast a lot of what they're buying instead. Ruger's quality control is consistent. Their customer service actually answers the phone. And the platform runs the most available ammo and the most available magazines on the planet. During the panic years, used Ruger AR-556 rifles were moving at $400 to $500 without hesitation. Dealers couldn't keep them in stock. Today, you'll find them used all day long for $300 to $320, sometimes less when the previous owner slapped on a cheap optic and the dealer just wants the whole package gone. From a preparedness angle, the AR platform's commonality is its superpower. 556 NATO and 223 Remington are everywhere. Standard NATO magazines are everywhere. When supply chains get weird, and they will get weird, commonality matters more than features. The Ruger AR-556 at 300 used is one of the most rational buys in the current market. It's not the most exciting rifle on this list, but excitement doesn't keep you fed. Reliability does. Number 7, Ruger American Ranch Rifle. This is the quiet overachiever on the list. Let this sink in. A bolt-action rifle that takes AR-15 magazines. That's exactly what the Ruger American Ranch is. Chambered in 556 or 300 blackout. Short, handy, accurate. That 16-inch barrel keeps it maneuverable. Unloaded weight is about 5.5 pounds, and it feeds from standard AR magazines like it was designed around them. Why does that matter? Because 556 is the most available centerfire rifle ammo in America. And AR magazines are everywhere. Gun stores, pawn shops, closets, range bags. But a bolt action has basically none of the mechanical complexity of a semi-automatic. Fewer moving parts means fewer things that can fail at the worst possible moment. So you're merging 2 of the most sensible preparedness choices into one rifle. The ammunition ecosystem of an AR and the mechanical simplicity of a bolt gun. at a price that would have sounded impossible 3 years ago. During the panic, these were selling above the manufacturer's suggested retail price without hesitation. Right now, used ones show up between 320 and 360. New ones hit sales at major retailers for 380 to 400 pretty regularly. If there's one rifle here that covers the most ground for the least money, it's this one. Hunting, defensive use, long-term reliability. The Ranch rifle does all three without complaint. Number 6. Springfield Armory Saint. When the Saint first dropped, Springfield priced it like a premium AR. And people paid it. M-lock handguard, mid-length gas system, consistent quality control out of Springfield's facility. It was a modern AR at a premium price. Then the budget AR market got crowded. Springfield held their pricing while competitors got better and cheaper. When panic buying finally cleared out, the used market corrected hard. Now you're finding clean Saints between 350 and 380 used, sometimes less when someone bought at peak panic pricing and just wants out. That mid-length gas system is the real story. It gives noticeably softer recoil than carbine-length competitors in this price bracket. If you're an older shooter with any shoulder sensitivity, or you're planning to run a suppressor later, that difference isn't subtle, it's real, and you'll feel it after the first magazine. And unlike some of the budget builds flooding the market right now, the Saints fit and finish stays consistent. You're not gambling. What you see on the shelf is what you're getting, and what you're getting is a solid, reliable AR platform with better ergonomics than most guns in this range. For folks who want to step up from entry level without crossing into the 600-plus zone, a Saint at 350 to 380 used is a legitimate sweet spot. Number 5. Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Generation 2. Yeah, it's a pistol caliber carbine, not a traditional rifle, but stay with me, because the value argument here is hard to ignore. When Kel-Tec released Generation 3, they fixed the one thing Generation 2 owners hated, the optic mounting issue. Generation 3's folding system lets you keep a scope or red dot mounted without losing zero every time you fold it. So if you were running glass on a Sub 2000, that was the upgrade reason. And people upgraded in big numbers, which means Generation 2 models are now sitting at 350 to 400 used, and they're not selling fast. That's your negotiating window. Here's the angle that doesn't get enough talk. If you already carry a 9mm pistol, and statistically you probably do, the Sub 2000 can run the same magazines. Glock magazines or Smith & Wesson magazines depending on the version you buy. One ammo supply, one magazine ecosystem, two platforms. And again, that matters when resupply isn't guaranteed. You're not managing two calibers. You're not juggling two magazine systems. Everything feeds from the same source. It folds down to 16 inches. It weighs 4 pounds. It fits into a backpack next to everything else you're already hauling. Think about what that means for a go bag. A full-length carbine that basically disappears into your kit without demanding rifle-sized space. Generation 2 isn't outdated. It's just mispriced because Generation 3 exists. And that price mistake is all upside for you. Number 4. Marlin 1894. C lever guns are having a moment right now. And the Marlin 1894C in 357 Magnum is sitting right at the intersection of that trend and a market correction most buyers still haven't noticed. Here's the backstory. When Remington owned Marlin between 2007 and roughly 2019, quality control was all over the map. Some rifles came out perfect. Others had rough machining, feeding problems, misaligned sights. Collectors learned to check serial numbers and inspect every rifle individually. That stigma stayed even after Ruger bought the brand and fixed the problems. And that lingering stigma is creating a real buying opportunity right now. Remington-era Marlin 1894C rifles in 357 Magnum are sitting in pawn shops and used racks for $550 to $650, sometimes less. And here's what most people miss. A lot of those so-called Remlins are actually perfectly solid rifles. The bad ones got returned, got complained about loudly online, and got fixed under warranty. The ones quietly sitting on the used rack often ran fine and got traded in because somebody upgraded for other reasons. If you're willing to inspect the action, run snap caps through the feeding cycle in the store, and look for obvious machining issues, You can walk out with a legit lever gun for way under what the market should be charging. The preparedness angle is ammo sharing. 357 Magnum paired with a revolver gives you the same logistical simplicity as the sub 2009 millimeter combo. One ammo supply, two platforms, but with a lot more terminal performance. A 357 Magnum carbine hits harder, reaches farther, and cycles more reliably than almost anything in its price range. And a platform built on this kind of action will run for 100 years with basic maintenance. Number 3. CZ Scorpion Evo 3. The CZ Scorpion crowd went through a rough patch. Early production guns had reports of bolt peening issues, and that spooked buyers who had been totally happy up to that point. CZ addressed it. The fix exists. Aftermarket bolts solved it completely for about $30. But the fear stuck in the market's memory, and used prices took a hit because of it. First and second generation Scorpions are now moving between 600 and 800 used, down from over 1,000 during peak demand. That's a serious drop for a platform this capable. Here's what nervous sellers are leaving on the table. A fixed bolt Scorpion with the right aftermarket part is a 9mm carbine with one of the strongest aftermarket ecosystems outside of the AR platform. Furniture, triggers, optics, mounts, suppressors, folding stocks, everything is available. It's documented, and it's priced competitively. The community support is deep. For experienced shooters who know how to evaluate a used gun, this is one of the most lopsided values in the current market. The logic is simple. Ask the seller for proof of the bolt upgrade, or budget $30 and do it yourself when you get home. After that, you own a genuinely excellent pistol caliber carbine at a price reflecting somebody else's anxiety, not the gun's real capability. The Scorpion also pairs naturally with anyone already running a CZ'd or a compatible 9mm pistol. Same caliber, same magazine ecosystem, zero logistical friction. Number 2, Ruger Precision Rifle. 2 years ago, finding a used Ruger Precision Rifle under $1,000 was basically a small miracle. Demand was high, supply was tight, and the long-range crowd had built a real following around it that kept prices locked in. Right now, used rifles in 6.5 Creedmoor are showing up between $700 and $850 with regularity. Some even come with bipods and rings already installed. The reason is simple. Savage, Bergara, and Tikka started offering serious precision platforms at similar or lower price points, and buyers finally had options. Ruger responded by running more frequent sales on new production. All of that pushed used prices down. But the core of the Ruger Precision Rifle has not changed. Folding chassis, adjustable length of pull, adjustable comb height, cold hammer forged barrel, and a trigger that was ahead of its class when it launched. Those aren't features that become worthless just because competition shows up. They stay valuable. 6.5 Creedmoor out of a 24-inch barrel reaches distances that make most real-world field problems irrelevant. It's a round that bucks wind, holds energy at distance, and fits in a standard long-action platform without the punishing recoil of a Magnum cartridge. For a shooter who wants one rifle that can do precision work on a bench and still make sense in the field, there's no better dollar per capability value right now than a clean, used Ruger Precision Rifle at this price. Number 1. Marlin 1895. Everything said about the Remington era. Marlin 1894 applies here too, but the 4570 version is where the value argument gets borderline ridiculous. At peak demand in 2022, used Remington-era Marlin 1895 rifles were selling for $1,300, sometimes $1,400. People paid it because lever gun supply was tight and 4570 was having a serious cultural moment. Then Ruger's new production Marlins hit the shelves with dramatically better build quality, and the bottom fell out of the Remington-era used market. Why pay close to new money for a question mark when a guaranteed rifle is sitting right next to it? Used Remington-era 1895 rifles are now landing between $900 and $1,100, and the same logic from the 1894 applies. A big chunk of these rifles are totally fine. The bad ones made a lot of noise online. The quiet ones ran without problems and got traded in by folks who wanted a Ruger-era gun for bragging rights. The 4570 government cartridge is in a class by itself for certain applications. Dense brush, close quarters, bear country. Large, dangerous animals at distances where your margin for error is exactly zero. There's no commonly available rifle cartridge that hits harder under 100 yards than a heavy 4570 load. Not in a standard lever action platform, not at this price. A 405-grain bullet at 1,900 feet per second out of a 22-inch barrel is not a debate. It's a conclusion. Right now, you can own that capability for $900 if you're willing to do the homework on the exact rifle in front of you. Inspect the action, check the feeding, look over the receiver machining. If it passes inspection, buy it without hesitation, because this window is not going to stay open forever. Now here's what I want from you. Have you picked up anything recently at a price that felt too good to be true? Or is there a rifle that should have made this list that I missed? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you made it this far and you're not following the armor yet, what are we doing here? Hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We go deep on real gear, real value, and real preparedness every single week.